Pray the impossible prayer. Just go ahead. What's stopping you? I know what's stopping you. Can I fill you in on what's stopping you? When we're afraid that God won't do a thing, when we're afraid we don't deserve it, there's a lot of things we don't ask for. I had to learn this the hard way. When I was a younger preacher, I remember I was pastoring in a space. One of the older pastors would drive by my side. There was two churches. There was a modern church where I pastored. There was a traditional church on the other side of the road where they pastored. It was all one church, two buildings and two different types of services. And I remember when I was leaving on Sunday, he used to pull up and ask if I had made my impossible list. And the reason that I didn't is because I grew up in a ministry family and I knew what budgeting looked like. I knew what the treasury looked like. I knew that money come from grandparents and grandparents and great-grandparents of people, and it was passed down to do great things in the community. So if I wanted a beautiful altar, if I wanted fill in the blank, it felt like I was taking from the dreams of other people. I don't know how to make that make sense, but that's just how I am. I'm weird about things like that. And I remember I didn't do it. I worked there about 3.5 years. And I remember I finally made that list. And then I asked my children to make the list. My son makes a list. And when he brings me the list, now my kids are amazing. When I say I have the best kids in the world, I truly believe that. My son Jack comes in and he brings me a list. And he knows if Mama will find a way, right? So I just ask him to make an impossible list. I don't really elaborate. He comes in and he says, a new house. There's this chair he really liked. That is an old man chair, right? It reclines. It has the little buttons on it. It's really, if you're 90 and up, it's for you. But this was my son. He was like 12 years old. And a dog. Okay. Ben's list was similar, and a dad. I was like, well, that's it. Like, I was expecting these big dreams. And it was all very doable things. It was all like things that were natural, doable things. So over the years, I remember right after this happened, God made me redo my list because of my son's list. He said, did that make you sad? I was like, did what make me sad? He was like, the impossible list, because it was all doable. I was like, well, yeah, because why would that seem impossible? He said, good, now go throw away your list and come back to me when you got something better to show me. And I did. I still find myself, because I put my prayer request on my wall in this stack of Post-its that you can't see. But God does. Sometimes God will have me mark through them and up the ante. Or he'll have me tear them off the wall and redo it. Because he always says, Brooke, you're thinking too small. I think a lot of times people think that God doesn't want to do for them. Over the years, yes, we changed all of our lists, but all of those old things are coming to pass. The chair is there. Maybe not a dog, but a cat, And all of these things are coming into fruition. And even when it looks to you like it's not doable, a lot of times it's just because you come from nothing. That's a generational curse that you are supposed to break. And if you continue to think in a lack-minded thinking, then lack is what you'll have. But if you start to trust God as your source, because he is our source, Bible says he owns the cattle on 1,000 a hill. And as a farm girl, I'm going to tell you that's a lot of cows, and that's a very expensive, just one hill is very expensive. 1,000 hill, that is a flex. What God is saying is, I'm your father. I love you. I got you. I can do this. You may think that it's not doable, but God loves to flex his muscle for his children. Like, he loves to do that. You ever had a grandpa or a dad that just really liked to show out for you? That's how God is. And I think that people assume that God just wants you to be a nothing. It's not true. You're just asking the wrong things. It says you have not because you what? Ask not. So start asking. And God may not always answer it in the way that you think. But I promise you it'll come around. Jack didn't get the exact chair. He got a version that was made for someone his age that has built-in Wi-Fi and headphones. You can turn the stereo up, it rocks back and forth, and it's fuzzy. But it was still the chair. It still had all the things he wanted. God just did it in another way. I have no doubt that when my son is 90, he's going to have a chair like that because he asked and he believed. And I believe that when we ask and we believe, we receive. And even if it don't always go the way you think, God's will is safer than your will ever be. So you really can't get it wrong. So go pray the prayer. Make the list. Ask and expect God to be God, and you know what you're going to find out? Surprising enough, and surprising not at all, because that's just who he is. God is going to be God. But you have to let him be. It's not impossible. Nothing is impossible with God. That's biblical. Make your impossible list and watch God rock your